maintain a complex canopy, but they go through all of the certification thing, right? What
Yep.
what is the cut that they can?
Right.
Is there a difference? And I don't maybe that's not.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic question. So, he's asking about for the coffee farmers that maintain their shade, what are the economic benefits to them, and specifically, what are the economic benefits from the certification? So first, the farmers that maintain the shade, they can harvest additional things from the shade. So they plant a lot of timber trees, they plant a lot of fruits, and so I've heard of coffee farmers that have furniture companies, so they will harvest the timber, they'll process it, and they'll make furniture as a value-added product from their farms. So there are definitely those cases. And there's a couple of studies that have looked at that, and it can provide between 20 to 30% of the income that the farmers make from harvesting the products that come from the shade trees themselves. In terms of the certification, there's some data out there, and one study that I did where I was trying to ask the question whether or not farmers that were certified with organic certification or farmers that had fair trade certification, were they actually earning more money than the farmers that were not certified. And as it turns out in that study, both organic and fair trade certification were beneficial for the farmers, so they had higher incomes, but specifically when the coffee prices were very low. So when the coffee prices went up, fair trade certification was less important, but organic still maintained a price premium.
Why is that?
At the time that I did this study, the fair trade had a cap. I think it was $1.26 or something like that was, what they guaranteed to pay the farmers. And so if the price went up, then the margin between the fair trade price and the market price was diminished. So they still guaranteed more than the market price, but the margin was smaller. In terms of the shade certification, I don't think anybody has investigated that specifically, whether or not shade certified farmers are actually earning more money than their counterparts. The bird-friendly certified farmers, since that's organic, they're probably doing roughly the same thing that the organic farmers are doing. But I think most of the people pushing shade certification are more talking to growers about how it might open additional markets with bird watchers, with people who are interested in biodiversity conservation and the like. Yeah, great question. Yep.
At what size level are these certifications happening? Are they happening at their little mom and pop 100 plants in their backyard level, or buyers, or?
So the question is, what's the level at which these certifications are happening, or which size farm? The way that smallholders are certified in most of these circumstances is by forming into cooperative organizations. And so all three of these certifications, organic, fair trade, and shade certification, will certify smallholders, specifically if they're organized into cooperatives, because that makes the whole process easier. They are able to pay for the certifications, because all these certifications cost money, of course, for the producer. But they also will certify large estate farms on a single basis. Yep.
Would you say that the work that you're doing is more focused on the pure science of studying the ecology, or is it more about the socioeconomic aspects?
I would say probably 80 to 85% of the work I do is focused on the pure ecology of the system and geeking out on the interactions between species and who lives there and how cool all that is. And probably about 15% of the work is thinking about farmer livelihoods and how to improve that based on the coffee management and other types of crops. Yeah, so I'm an ecologist, that's what my background is, so I'm very interested in all the livelihood and socioeconomic issues, but I'm not an expert as much in that area. Yes, one question. So how do the growers perceive biodiversity if they think of it in terms of ecosystem services, or they think of it in terms of the certification? So that's a great question, and it really depends on the grower that you're talking to. So I've definitely talked to some growers that say, oh, I'm an indigenous person and I'm very dedicated to promoting biodiversity on my farm. That's part of my heritage, and so I think it's very important. I've talked to some farmers who, like me, geek out on the biodiversity and are really excited about bird watching and really interested in that stuff. I find that a lot of farmers, when I tell them, oh, well, I want to come on your farm because I want to research the ants, and they're like, well, why the heck would you want to do that? But then when I come back a year later and I tell them, guess what, I found 75 species of ants on your farm, that they kind of freak out because they don't realize how many ants were there or how much diversity is there, and they think that that's really cool. I don't think that they're going to change their lifestyle or their management decisions because I tell them there are 75 species of ants there. I think the growers definitely would participate in certification if they participated in it at all because they view the economic benefits. In terms of the ecosystem services, I think that some growers do know that the biodiversity is providing ecosystem services, and the one experiment I talked about where the researchers went out and introduced like hundreds of caterpillars onto the plant, that was an idea that the grower gave them, basically. Because he said, oh, well, I see the birds, getting those pest outbreaks all the time. Do an experiment like that. So, they're very perceptive about what's happening in their land. Okay, well, thanks everybody for your questions.